A motion to start the meeting?
Tony, I need a second.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Is there anybody for public speak time? Linz, you can see everyone, I can't.
Yeah, no, there's no one here. No hands raised.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from March 2020?
So I did find them in the computer. I apologize to the board for not sending those back in March of 2020.
Thank you. Did everybody get to see them?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to
So I
approve.
need a motion to approve them?
I'll make a motion to approve the March meeting minutes.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And then the September meeting minutes, please.
Can you watch them?
Did everybody get to see September?
Yeah.
Yes.
I need a motion.
Motion?
Motion to approve the minutes of September.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, I'd now like to open the public hearing for the continuance for Mike Michon for the reserve of 2 all alcohol licenses for the Ferry Street development. Before we start talking on that, Mike, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay. I just want to relay to the board, Jeff Bagg had said at our last meeting, he had spoken about Worcester and Worcester Reserves licenses, and he just spoke in regards to that, and I just need to correct that for the minutes, that Worcester does not reserve licenses. They do not even have a cap on their licenses. They're a much bigger city than us, so they do not have the same type of quotas that we do, but they specifically do not reserve licenses. So I just wanted that corrected in the minutes.
Okay, and Jeff Bagg did reach out, just so the board knows, he did reach out to me via email to apologize. We had miscommunication about that. We went to tour Worcester last year, and there were questions about licensing that I guess we miscommunicated too. So just to let the board know, he did send his regrets about that.
With that being said, Tony and Stan, were you both able to review Attorney Tanner's replies to our questions?
Yes, I did see that.
Stan?
I did not. Are they in this group that you just sent us, Lindsay?
Yes.
And what are they under?
You want me to give you a recap, Stan?
Yeah.
Okay, so we had reached out to Attorney Tanner, who was the town attorney, requesting a legal verification on how the statute is written in regards to that it has to be, the license has to be issued within a 3-year period. And he said, he replied, yes, the license would need it initially be issued within 3 years of the act. So he would need to go through the process, being Mike Michon, through the process of having the license issued to the premises in the correct district within 3-year period. The licensing board could then authorize the transfer to a new location once it is constructed. So what he is saying that Mike would have to have a license attached to a particular premise in the mill and have that license granted. And in the future, then if he gets a different tenant or something, he could transfer that license to that tenant. Is that everybody's understanding?
Yes.
Mike, do you understand that?
Yeah, I think it was in the outline. You guys labeled it Building 7 and Building 9.
Yeah, that's
Correct.
what you had sent in your proposal to us.
Correct. And that's accurate.
Okay, great.
Okay, so though in order for you to actually get the license from the ABCC, you would have to submit the plans, the seating, everything that would usually be needed for a license. So you couldn't just request it and they would grant it. It would have to be whatever unit that you're putting that in. It would have to be almost like a turnkey for somebody to come in and open up a restaurant or a bar or an event space. And most likely it's more the event space that you're going to be looking for, correct?
No, not necessarily. Building 7 is going to be a restaurant, hopefully.
Okay. All right. So, that's what the ABCC is going to be looking for, though, locations where the bar is, how the seating's going to be, all the things that you would have to need to get the permit through the application process. And then, you can go ahead and do that, and then you would have to transfer that to the actual tenant if you don't have a tenant within that 3 years.
And that would have to be a tenant that is approved by the ABCC and the board, correct?
For the transfer, yes.
Yes. Okay.
So the license process is going to be the same. So after the 3 years for the parchment expiration, it would be that the license would have to be applied for and approved through the ABCC and through the LLA. So you would go through the same process, Mike, of applying through the ABCC, paying their fees, submitting the floor plan and everything else, and then LLA approves and sends off to ABCC for their final approval. So you would have to have, and this was confirmed with Executive Director Ralph Sacramone, that when the time comes, it would have to be ABCC approved first and go through the due process. Does that make sense?
Okay, so I'd have to, why would I have to come back before you? Wouldn't it be the new permittee?
It would be, well, no, because you'd be applying for it in 3 years. You'd be doing the actual approval through the ABCC. And then once you get a tenant, then you would be doing a transfer of license to the new tenant.
This is only if you don't have a tenant prior to the 3 years.
Right.
The license has to be issued within 3 years. So an actual license, we can't keep reserving a license after 3 years.
Right.
Understand.
Does that make sense? I mean, I can clarify what Ralph Sacramone and I went over if it helps, but it's the same process for a license in 3 years or a license now. If you were applying for it, it would have to meet the ABCC standards of having the floor plan, the manager identification, and all that information.
Yep, understand.
Okay, great.
So, Stan or Tony, do either of you have questions?
I don't.
No.
Do we want to fill in the blanks of the written agreement that I had typed up?
Yes, we need to go through those.
Okay.
And everybody has seen a copy of the reservation agreement?
Yes.
So the things that we would need to fill in then, the date of the issuance of the, up on top, shall review status of this grant yearly beginning on. So the yearly review would be every September meeting, or September meeting. It would be for whatever September meeting.
Okay. So September 2020 and on. I think that was the 14th. Right? Maybe.
Well, whatever our meeting would be in September in 2021.
In 2020. So the status of this agreement yearly beginning on, it's beginning this year and then reviewing annually?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm reading that wrong. Then yes, it's now. It would be today's date. And then the review would be, the first review would be September meeting in 2021.
Okay.
Can I go back to what we were discussing earlier about the 3 year? That's 3
Sure.
years That's 3 years. My understanding is 3 years from the date that that bill was signed into law, not 3 years from today.
Correct.
That's correct?
Right.
Okay.
And those were signed in what, June?
Right. So we need to have that June date so
Okay.
that we know for sure, so that, you can, so that we're not missing anything here, that it's 3 years from that June date that the legislature approved these additional licenses.
Okay, I can add
Correct.
that in there somewhere, if everyone's comfortable with that, and then I'll have Attorney Tanner just double check that.
That doesn't make sense because I'm applying now. How can we be going backwards?
The legislature, the way that the law is written is that this license has to be in somebody's hands within 3 years of the law being passed. So that's 3 years from June. That you need to have this license in your hand by that 3 years from June.
Is it 3 years of issuance?
3 years of them issuing those additional licenses.
Okay,
And they signed those, and it was signed by the Senate and the House in June. So that whatever the date that is on that bill,
okay,
that's the date that he has to have these licenses, that we have to use these licenses by that date, by 3 years from that date. So that those licenses have to be in somebody's hands in 3 years from June.
okay.
I don't have a copy of the statute
I
in
don't-
front of me.
Either, I don't think. I'm just double checking to make sure I don't have it here. Would I don't think I do. I don't have it here.
So we can reserve up until that time, but that license has to be issued by June of 2023. Is that correct?
Correct.
So we just need to have that date so that it's understood that that's, otherwise the city loses those licenses if it's not in somebody's hands.
Okay.
So we have to make sure that's being done correctly.
That's correct, Stan. I agree with what you're saying. Lindsay, so we just need to check those dates.
Hi, this is Jane Mantaleski. Can you give me the reference to the bill number you're referring to?
I think it's S3821. No, that's not right. 2381, sorry.
No worries.
I have the numbers right, just not the order.
Got it.
And it's the last paragraph in the parchment.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Section F.
Okay, so then we should start to review the status of this agreement yearly beginning on. So that's when we shall start the review. So we should review it the month before each yearly anniversary of it. Correct?
Like May. Do it,
Right.
we'll review every May.
Yes.
That makes sense to me. Mike, are you comfortable with that?
Not really, but I mean, if it's in the statute, I don't know what to say, you know? I just don't understand. I mean, how,
So if we did it in October, then that would only give you 2 years, because if it.
no, I'm in agreement with
Okay.
what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I don't understand how the state can issue that and say that, they have to go back in time because there wouldn't be an applicant. There'd have to be already an applicant in the pipeline. You know what I mean? So it's,
But there very well have been, there just happened to have not been because these are over quota licenses. These are
I know, but-
legislative licenses, so
yeah.
they do expire.
Well,
Yeah. I'm just looking at it, and it does say that they must be issued within 3 years after the effective date of the act, and the act is effective upon its passage. So you have to determine what date it was passed, and if it was passed in June, then it's got to be within 3 years of that date.
okay.
And that's not just your licenses, it's all of these.
All of
licenses.
these.
Yeah, no, I thank you, Stan, for clarifying that. I appreciate that. It just sounds a little tough, that's all.
Well, now you know why we protect them so, that we're so, we can't get more. They're not going to give us any more till these expire. That's why they do that. So that's why it gets so tough. It took us 2.5 years to get these. So that's why they do it that way. They just expire them.
If we're not using,
So, what?
if we're not using them, they
Right. Okay, so the other things that we have to fill out. So the date of the issuance of the license, though, we can issue it now, but it could be. So this is for the
That's to
license.
expire. So that would, I guess that expiration date would be dependent on moving forward after the 3 years, which we can't determine right now.
Correct.
So,
It has to be issued within 3 years.
oh, you know why? Okay, so I put that there because we initially had a timeline from Mr. Michon saying that these would be used no later than X year 2024. So I was thinking that we would have that written down as the agreed upon expiration with him.
Gotcha.
So regardless of what the parchment or the transfers or anything else, there was intention to use these before 2024 for building 7, 2025 for building 9, or whatever the case may be. I didn't know if we wanted that in writing, and if we don't, we take it out. And if, because we're under legislative language anyway, we might not need that. That's,
Yeah, I don't think you need this anymore.
okay, that's fine.
Dan, Tony, you agree with that?
I'm okay with that, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the question being, should he be paying a fee for these? Just like if we had issued the license now, since these are being set aside and reserved for him, should he be paying the fee for them?
So the annual
What are your
fee for
thoughts?
an all alcohol license is $1,300.
I believe there should be some fee collected, being that the city will not be able to have anything collected if we're holding them aside for him for 3 years. If we had issued one, that there would be some income for the fee for the city. Stan, Tony?
Yes, I'm just not sure what that fee should be.
Well, I think it should be a discounted amount, just being as the time is right now, we've discounting just about every other alcoholic licensing fee in the city, especially the ones that pertain to restaurants. So I think at this point, we're giving everybody a 50% off, or that's what we've discussed. We haven't finalized it yet, but I think it would fall under that because it would be used for a restaurant.
I have no objection to that.
How about if it's 25%, because they're not in use?
Yeah, but that's the whole problem, Mike, that they could be in use. That's where our dilemma is here. If we're setting that aside for you for a 3-year period, I mean, somebody could come to us next week that would want one of these licenses, and then they would be paying into the fee schedules for the city, but it would only be at the 50%. So I don't think that you should pay less than what other businesses in the city are paying. If
Okay,
you
so-
want those licenses,
So it'd be 1,300 for 2 licenses.
correct.
Okay.
I mean, we have other people that are waiting to even open up their businesses that are paying the full amounts. So I think that's fair to the other businesses in town and businesses that would be coming in town. That's how we would be treating them too. I don't think that we can give special treatment.
Okay, so technically it's $650 a piece.
Correct. It would be 50%. Yes.
Okay.
Because that's the type of license you want are the full alcohol for like a restaurant, correct?
That's correct.
Restaurant bar.
Correct.
And
Dan, Tony?
do we review that fee next year?
Oh, yeah. Every year when we review the status, we're going to review that.
Okay, because if everybody else's fees are back up to where where they normally are, or do we change this fee as well? And that's something we would address during the annual review.
I would think so, yes.
Okay, but let's get the annual review right though, because the annual review is not really from today's date, right?
No, your annual review for the status will be in May, but all the licenses are reviewed in October for us to sign off on them in November.
Okay.
So you would be in with that grouping of licenses, and everybody, like this year, we sent out forms for anybody that feels that their license fee should be discounted, and you would be getting a license form just like everybody else.
Okay.
Tony, you okay with this
Yeah, that's okay.
so far?
Mhm.
So I can make amendments to this letter and then send it through DocuSign for everyone to sign off on. Jane, I can include you on that too if you'd like.
Yes, please, thank you.
Okay.
Jane, do you have any questions for us?
No, I think it was actually pretty well said. Was it exhausting?
I'm sorry, you cut out. Could you repeat that?
I was telling Lindsay that when we had initially logged on, there was a sigh when she said something about the agreement, and I just said I thought it was well drafted, so it wasn't my sigh. So yeah, no, I don't have any other comments besides just making sure Lindsay knew I wasn't sighing at her.
No, it's fine. This is my first. I kind of went off of an LOI, so I was doing my best. But Jane, can you give me your email address?
Yeah, so I have your email address.
Okay.
So
Great. Sorry.
Mike, do you have any other questions for us?
No, I don't.
Okay, so we'll get this drafted up. We'll get a copy. You'll get to sign it also, and we'll take it from there then. Unless you have any questions or anything.
No, I'm good. No.
Okay.
Great.
Dan or
Well,
Tony, I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, Kelly. Thank you all for your assistance with this.
You're welcome. And Dan or Tony, I need a motion for all that we've discussed to approve.
I can make a motion, I don't know exactly quite how to approve the,
What if we do approve the agreement between the city, local licensing authority, and project developer?
that's
As
what I
amended.
said.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you all.
Jane. Okay. So next, The change of manager application from Old Colony package. Did you receive revised document signed?
I did not, and it doesn't look like anyone's here.
Okay, then we can continue it to our next meeting.
Red
Okay.
dog.
Can you guys hear the noise in the background? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
There's no special one-day applications.
No.
Red
New business. Chris Rogers, are you there with an update for us?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. I know I sent you a lot of information after the last meeting we had, and I'd like to update you on where we've gotten since then. So last meeting, we had entered into a commitment letter with Greenfield Savings Bank to purchase the property through an equity loan. We are scheduled to close on that loan this Friday, the 23rd. There's 3 business days to wait for the funds, so the property closing will take place on October 28th. Also, since our last meeting, we had a meeting with Jeff Baggs via Zoom, and my site planner, Jeff Squire, was on the call, as well as several other departments to discuss the design plans and possible issues. When the meeting ended, Mr. Baggs felt pretty confident that minus a couple small issues that needed to be worked out, we would be able to move forward with the design plan. No major issues were voiced as a concern moving forward. That being said, we're very close to submitting for site permitting. I am still addressing one issue on my end regarding parking, and I have reached out to National Nonwoven, and I'm working on an arrangement for shared parking. We are also waiting to hear back from the fire chief on the parking lot and the sprinkler system to make sure he okayed that. As far as financing for the business aspect goes, it's still at a standstill due to the COVID restrictions that remain in place. It is still my understanding that once the threat to businesses passes and restrictions are laxed, that both Greenfield Savings and Granite State, my SBA 504 representative, will move forward in support of the Corner Pocket Billiard Hall. Oxbow Design has finished the general design of the building, excluding the bar area, as we are still awaiting the equipment specifications from Peter at G&G Restaurant Supply. There is a pause in that because we're still waiting for feedback from Coca-Cola as to what their dimensions of the product are going to be. The stamp drawings have been forwarded to Jeff Baggs, so he has those. It is my intention to start clearing the land immediately following closing in preparation for an immediate build-out as soon as favorable conditions warrant. I am currently at a financial standstill as I've invested $90,000 cash and $112,000 in the equity loan, and my GC and steel manufacturer will not proceed further until I've obtained full financing. I believe these issues were apparent in my prior emails, and I'm doing everything possible in the meantime to keep forward progress under these circumstances. And that's where I'm at right now.
Chris, did you ever meet with the Conservation Commission and got a sign off from them?
My site planner originally thought we wouldn't have to meet with the Conservation Commission, but it did come up in our meeting with Jeff Bagg, and he is working on that now as we speak.
Well, when you say he's working on it, you'd need to be on their agenda. So you'd need to go to one of their meetings because you'll need to get a determination of applicability.
Right. I'm not sure where he's at on that. He didn't voice that as a concern in our last call.
Because if you go and start cutting down trees without they're okay, you're going to get yourself in some trouble over there.
Right. Yeah,
So
from my understanding, we did talk about that, and the only areas I'm looking at are where the lot has already been built upon with a driveway or whatever, and my understanding is those are not conservation concerns.
Well, they might be impactions to the Conservation Commission. You really should speak to the conservation agent before you start anything.
Okay. Well, I will obviously get approval before that happens, but it was my understanding that it wasn't a major concern. So I will speak with him tomorrow on that and see if he has more feedback on that from the Conservation Commission.
Okay. I'm just saying this, Chris, because I chaired the Conservation Commission for 15 years. I think you're in their jurisdiction.
I understand. Okay.
Does anybody have any questions for Chris?
No.
I don't.
Okay, thank you for the update.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Night.
You too. Okay, so has everybody seen the packet from the different organizations that hold the liquor licenses with their requests for discounts or not paying anything? They're all a little different. Has everybody seen them?
Yeah, and I have, and I think that we should at least discuss if they should be different, because there's two things that are happening. One is people who are up and running and who are, like everybody is doing, they're doing poorly because of COVID. And then there's other people who are not up and running because the law says they can't open. They haven't been open since March, and they are not going to be open for the foreseeable future. So
Agreed.
Those are two different things. And
Yes.
I think we should be looking at those bars who are applying for these new licenses and say, wait a minute, well, should we be charging them $1,600 when they can't even, make rent? And, and so I think we need to separate those two things. We have the restaurants that are up and going somewhat, and to sell some alcohol. You can pick them up curbside, you can, different things. So they at least have something going on. And those are the ones that we should be applying the 50% to if they have applied. The bars that cannot open, I would put forward the motion that we don't charge them. Or charge them.
I had the same thought. Tony, what do you feel about that?
No, I think that just kind of makes sense. Yeah.
I agree. I think at this point, any of these, the package stores have been allowed to be open from day one. They've never shut down. And I know some of them have put on here, their business has slid somewhat, but they still have the capability of having the business daily and to sell the alcohol. And I don't see that they should get a waiver of any kind. But some of these bars have not even been open since March. And even most of the restaurants, the only things that I don't think they're doing that much takeout alcohol. I think they're doing takeout food, but they're not doing takeout alcohol. So I'm thinking more more of a scale of, you know, no fee for their licenses for some of these, 25%, a 50%, 75%, and 100%. And I think we should go through each one and decide, you know, from what we all know, each of us knows of these businesses in town, if they're open or not open, you know, and make a decision on what we should apply, you know, to their fee for their license.
And so if I may, can I let you guys know some things about this?
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, I can fill these out. I have the papers here individually. I can fill them out based on your decision and then send them to you via DocuSign. Or Kelly, you can sign and fill them out on behalf of the board, whatever is easier for the board. I'm happy to accommodate. Second thing on my list, no cities and towns in Mass, because I'm part of a listserv, are offering any fee reductions or waivers to anyone outside of Section 12. So that would be package stores. They're not Section 12 licensees. So no other cities or towns in Mass are allowing waivers or reductions for them since they have been operational the entire time. And then just the third thought that I just had is when you're doing the sliding fees based upon whether they've been open or not, something to think about is where we're headed as a state, possibly for the fall. I worry about if we do 50% for one person, 100% for another, because they're completely closed. Then what happens if, God forbid, we go backwards and we completely close again? Then we've only done 50% for some and 100% for others. So just kind of something to have on the table. And I know it's completely up to the board's decision, but just a thought that occurred to me, I felt I should share.
I think that's valid, and that makes sense that we just pick one percentage.
Yeah.
And that we're going to be reducing this to and charge it across the board. And
that's also what other cities and towns are doing. Either they're giving a waiver or they're not. And it's either 50% or it's nothing or 25%. Some cities and towns have decided nothing at all. I mean, so I think if the board is going to choose something, that they should look at what is fair. I mean, this is unprecedented times and nothing is really fair to anyone right now. So I think just being consistent is as fair as the board could get.
Lindsay, is it within our rights that, say we waive the licensing fee right now, except for everyone except for the package stores, can we revisit this if everything opens back up next year? So whatever you do, whatever decision you make tonight is what they're going to get for their renewal fee. That goes into the licensing fund, which is then turned over to general at the end of the year. Okay. So we can't decide next May if everything opens up to charge them 50% licensing fee. It's one shot. Yeah. For the year. Yeah. And I think that would be difficult to then charge them the other 50% right before another licensing season of 100%. So I think it would just be what you decide now is what you need to go with. And I mean, you could do 50% across the board or 50% to people who have only been shut down. This is discretionary up to what the board feels will be the fairest in a really unfair time, I guess. Yeah. I don't envy the decision, but I'm here to support you guys. My suggestion is that we waive the fees for everyone except for the package stores. That's just my feeling, and Tony and Stan, you can voice your feelings on it.
I have no objection to that.
All right, so what you're saying is you'd waive the fees entirely for the year?
For all except for package stores.
Package stores.
Are we talking all that applied or everyone? Because not everyone applied.
I think we have to do for everyone. Even the people I know, like Mission Cantina did not apply. Right. Kasana did not apply for a hardship. I think it's across the board for everybody.
Can I just revisit something here? Lindsay, it costs money to process these licenses.
Yeah. So
to say to charge nothing, I don't think that would be I think that would be a burden on the city. Mm-hmm. which is really burdened right now financially. So what would be like the minimum would you suggest that we could get by with to cover your cost or the cost of whatever the city has to do to process these licenses? Would it be 10%?
I mean, I've never actually sat down and broken it down. The money for licensing used to pay the mean, which it doesn't do anymore.
Right.
So I've never actually sat down and broken down the fees. I would think that if you're going to make the decision to waive for everyone that's a Section 12, then waive everyone at 25% possibly instead of the 50%. I mean, if you do 50% for all applicants, that's one thing, but 50% across the board might be a larger hit.
What about if we just charged a flat fee for everybody with a license of like $100?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Wait, what? Sorry.
I think.
What about if we just charged everybody $100? That's just administrative fees, just to keep.
$100, I think, is going to be way below. That would essentially be waiving this year's renewals because they're $1,300 for the license. Then you're talking, some people have $100 entertainment ones, $100, then it's $75 per amusements. I think $100 flat fee is too low.
Well, I think $100 flat fee for the liquor licenses, but for the other ones like amusements and the entertainment licenses, they could go down to $25. That we're still collecting something.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are some towns that are collecting nothing.
Yeah. I honestly think $100 would be something we would want to further discuss with City Council President. Since the mayor can't have involvement in this, but I think $100 would be, I don't know if that's feasible for the city. We might want to talk with the president of city council as well as the auditor. So it's $1,300 just for the liquor license. Would $300 sound reasonable? Would that get?
Well, that's for all licenses. So wine and malts, what's the renewal for wines and malt?
$875.
Okay, and then there's 3 different ones before you get to the package stores.
All alcohol on premise or off premise is $1,300. Wine and malt on premise, off premise, $875, and then Farmers Winery, $100.
Okay.
It does.
So, and the
be easier.
Farmers Winery is the breweries.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And they have been the only ones that we've really helped out, and they're up and running still.
Yes.
Until it gets cold and they can't go outside any longer.
Right. And with these types of fee structures, I wonder if we should just go back to a percentage, and because that would just be across the board.
I think that's the best way to do it, and you pick the percentage of what you want to do it at.
So if we did 25%, it would be $325 for the all alcohol and $875.
No, I wish I was in my office because I do have the numbers for what we brought in for revenue last year and how much it was. But I don't have that stuff here with me.
But your salary does not come out of our fees, correct?
No longer does, no.
Okay. So we would, for malt, beer, and malt and wine, it would be $218. For the all alcohol, it's $325. I think that's fair. I mean, we can't burden these businesses more than they've already been burdened either.
Right.
Like you said, some of them can't even pay their rent. If we can help what we can do, I think that's only fair.
And I don't think that they're going to be applying for entertainment licenses because they can't entertain.
Right.
So those just aren't going to be happening. I don't think we need to address that. So I think this is fair. It's 25% across the board, whatever license they're applying for. The city's going to take a hit, but everybody's taking a hit.
So that's it. At least maybe they can pay their real estate taxes if they're not paying their license fee.
Yeah.
They're going to have to make a decision what they can pay and can't pay. And then, if we can help out, at least one thing will get paid.
Okay. So
instead of them not paying anything.
so basically this is applying to all except section 12?
Correct.
So I'll make a motion to reduce the fee to 25% to all licenses except for section 12.
Second.
Section 12 is the licenses you're approving the waiver for.
All section 12 licenses. Let's do that. Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, okay, so Tony seconded that. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
The licenses outside of section 12, what are we doing with those? So liquor stores and...
They would be paying their full fees.
What's their fee?
So it's the same. So wine and malt would be $875. All alcohol is $1,300.
Okay. The only one I have a concern about was, I don't know if everybody read their things, is Ferry Street Package Store, who's really been having a tough time because of the Rotary work there and Ferry Street being shut down.
Yeah.
Do we want to address that as a singular request from that particular business for some type of a waiver for them?
I don't have a problem with that. As long as it didn't start something with, other package stores saying, well, how did they get a waiver and we didn't? Or would they have a way of even knowing that?
I don't think they
Meeting
would.
here.
Yeah. I mean, this is a public meeting. So yes.
That's true, right? Yeah.
And my guess is that once we waive the fees, that's probably going to hit the paper. And
Yeah. I wouldn't advise doing it for one package store and not all of them. And
Yeah, I think most of our package stores are probably doing more business, not less.
I agree.
yeah, that was discussed in our
So they're
listserv.
buying and bringing it home.
Okay. Well, I wanted to put it out there because they did send us a letter.
Yeah.
So,
They did.
but I agree with you. Liquor stores have been open. The package stores have been open since day one.
Yeah.
And that was a big issue with other businesses. Why are they open and other ones aren't? So I agree. I don't think any special treatment can be issued for them. Anything else we need to discuss tonight?
I don't believe so.
Lindsay, when do you want the next meeting? When would you have the licenses ready?
So we have to meet in November to sign, can we do it as late in November as humanly possible? Because now I have to really push these all out. I have to calculate the 25% fees on everybody's stuff, type up the letter, send it out with all the ABCC documents, have them send them back to me, and then type up the licenses and all that other jazz to be, so technically if we do December, that's when the board needs to sign the licenses. So
Right.
we could, if you guys are willing and able to do like second week in December, that would allow me all of November and right now to get everyone what they need and have that returned to me.
Well, I have no problem with that unless something comes on the agenda for November. If somebody asks for a meeting, we would have to call a meeting.
Right.
But for right now, I don't have a problem with going into December.
Okay.
Tony, Stan?
No, I'm good with that.
I'm good with that.
Thank you.
Great. So do you want to put our meeting for December 14th at 5 o'clock?
Yeah. Can we aim for December 7th?
That's the first Monday.
I know but I could have more readily available childcare that day.
Okay. No problem.
This has been a little distracting tonight.
Okay. So 5 o'clock, December 7th, you'll send us out a link.
Yes, I will.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you all. Can I have a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Good night.
All right.
Good night.